Hey, everybody. Welcome to the What the Wealthy Do podcast, where we spend 15 minutes pulling the curtain back on how the wealthy build wealth and show you how you can apply those strategies to your everyday life on your wealth building journey. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Dorsey. I am the host. I am also the CEO and co-founder of Margins Capital. And at Margins, we believe that everyone should be educated on all things wealth, especially alternative investments. We are an investment firm that focuses on providing access to women and people of color to an institutional quality portfolio of alternative investments. So today we are going to talk about one of the biggest myths regarding building wealth, and that is you can save your way to wealth. I know a lot of y'all are probably like, girl, we know this already. What are we talking about? Well, today I really want to show the math behind why it doesn't work and talk about how inflation eats up those savings and how compound interest bolsters your investments. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we jump in, I am just going to warn you that we're going to be, again, it's a lot of math. We're going to be talking about a lot of numbers. And so if you're the type of person that is a visual learner or they just want to see and hear, engage a couple of their senses, perhaps this will be a good one for you to not just listen to on Apple or Spotify, but to watch on YouTube. Just FYI. Or you can just listen to it a whole bunch of times, girl. It's up to you. So, all right, let's jump in. First things first, this episode will not be bashing savings. We're not trying to say savings is bad. We're not trying to even tell you, girl, you ain't got to save, just invest. That is wrong, right? Your savings is a wonderful emergency fund. It is going to help you when life does what it does, because it always does what it does. The car breaks down, or you need a new roof, or your childcare changes and their prices go up. You need to have savings to cover you in case of an emergency. Also, you need to save for that vacation that you deserve, or your spa day with the girls that you always go to once a month or once every quarter. You need to put money aside, right? And so you absolutely should be doing that. But it is a short-term stopgap. That's what savings is. That's all it's going to be for you. It is something you should think about in a time horizon of 12 months or less. That's what savings is for. It is for protection. It is for peace of mind, but it is not a wealth building strategy. Like if your savings or if your money is sitting in a checking account that's earning you 0.01% interest, or even if you're smart enough to have it in a high yield savings account and it's earning you 4% interest for the time being, it's still not going to propel you forward to the type of wealth that you're going to need in order to have the life you want to have when you're ready to stop working. Savings is essentially a parked car. Right? It's safe and it's great, but it is not, again, going to help you grow and help you live the life that I know you want to live. So let's talk about why. It's inflation. The why is inflation. And so what is inflation? Inflation means ultimately the price of everything goes up over time, right? And so what causes it? It's really a chicken or the egg kind of situation. For instance, the cost to make a widget or a good. Let me give you an example. The cost to manufacture a refrigerator ultimately goes up over time because eventually the cost of the door frame is going to be a little bit higher. The cost of adding the electronic components in it so that it actually turns on goes up over time. There are tariffs, so maybe it costs a little bit more to import that one little piece that we generally get from Taiwan or somewhere, goes up over time. And then you have the human element, the people who are actually constructing or manufacturing the refrigerator. They're like, yo, the cost of eggs is crazy. Like everything is going up. So, you need to pay me more. So then the labor wages go up, which ultimately makes the production of the refrigerator go up, which ultimately makes the cost of the refrigerator go up. You see what I'm saying? So it's literally a flywheel of increased production costs and ultimately price. And so inflation literally just means that things are going to go up. And on average, we're in unprecedented times. But on average, inflation raises in the US about 2 to 3% a year. Now it is more 2.5% to 3.5%. Right now we're squarely in about 3%. And it's just the price continues to go up. The cost of things go up. I'm sure you noticed that $100 when you go to the grocery store, $100 buys you 2 bags of groceries when it used to buy you 3 bags. And even before that, it bought you 4 bags. Right now, the cost of things are just higher. And it's funny, who would have known that Fat Joe was a wonderful economic professor when he said yesterday's price is not today's price? He was absolutely right when he said that. And so remember that yesterday's price is not today's price, period. That's for the stuff you buy, but that should also go for you too. Like, I'm just saying, but that's a conversation for another day. Okay, so let's give you, like, what do you mean by inflation going up by 3%? What does that mean? Say you saved last year $1,000 and you have $1,000 sitting in your bank. You're listening to this podcast. You're like, yo, I got $1,000. Now, a year ago, that $1,000 was literally $1,000 and it could have bought you $1,000 worth of goods. Today, because over the last year, inflation has increased by 3%, that $1,000 can only buy you $970 worth of goods, right? So 3% of $1,000 is $30, and that $30 is lost. It's gone to the wind. And how is it gone to the wind? I mean, you're like, girl, I'm looking at this. I still got $1,000 in my hand. What you talking about? It just means because of the price of all the things have increased by about roughly 3%, you can only buy $970 worth of goods this year, when last year you could have bought $1,000 or last year's version of $1,000 worth of goods. Okay, and I know you like, okay, it's $1,000, it's $30, girl. Like, what you talk about? Okay, but that number, it continues to increase because every year is 3%. Walk with me now. Say you saved $1,000 every year for the next 10 years, right? So at the end of the 10 years, while you have $10,000, that $10,000 would only be able to buy you about $8,500 worth of goods. So I know you're probably thinking, but wait, $30 from the amount you lost in year one times 10 is only $300. Why have I lost $1,500? Because that 3% continues to erode even that initial $1,000. So year one, it goes down to 970. Year two, it goes down even more. Year three, the value of it continues to go down. And so to the point where it snowballs almost to 5 times what you originally thought, if you did math in your head, that inflation cost or loss, the impact would be. So this is why. Savings is good for a short-term type of situation. And if you really want to get funky with it, you can increase your savings year over year so that it beats inflation. But regardless, inflation is going to be eroding every year the value of it. And you're not going to be able to buy as much as you wanted to or you could last year because yesterday's price is not today's price. So for those of you who are like, well, you telling me that savings is useless? Like I shouldn't do it? No, that's not what I'm saying. Not at all. Not at all. Like we have to save and the prices are going to keep going up. So we have to be prepared for that. But we need to just recognize and understand that this is a reality. Inflation is going to be eroding the value of your dollar, of your savings. And we just need to plan for it accordingly. And you want to know one way you can plan for it accordingly? Invest. You invest to offset the cost that inflation or the erosion of value that inflation is putting on your dollars. Because just like inflation continues to erode, compound interest expands. So we're going to talk about compound interest now. Okay, now let's flip it and talk about inflation's final cousin, which is compound interest. Anyway, compound interest, just like inflation and the value of your money erodes over time, compound interest, if left uninterrupted, so you can't mess with it. If you interrupt it, it's going to start all over. But if you don't interrupt it, it's just going to continue to grow and grow. So your money is going to have little money babies or little money friends, and they're going to have more little money friends, and it's just going to continue to grow over time. So let's talk about why and what that is. Actually, the way I think about it is, you remember how on cartoons, there's always a snowball that starts at the top of the hill and it starts rolling and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time until it like hits the town and it makes a big old mess. That's how compound interest works. And that's just the visual that works for me. You could think about it any other positive way. And so let's give you an example. Let's assume we invest $1,000 in the stock market. And because the stock market has been performing really well, and for the ease of doing the math here, let's assume that it returns 10% interest. So you earn 10% on everything you put in the stock market. So year one, you put in $1,000 and you earn $100, right? Which is 10% times 1,000 is 100. So you earned $1,100. Let's say we are going to let it run and let it keep going in the stock market. And we're also going to add another $1,000 for year two. So you would think, oh, we got $1,100 from year one. I'm going to run it back and put another $1,000. We'll get another $1,100. We'll add that together to be $2,200. But that's not right. What is not taken into account is the beauty of compound interest, even at the very, very beginning of the snowball creation, right? So your $1,100 from year one, you're going to earn 10% on $1,100, not $1,000. So that $1,000 turned into $1,100. Now you earn 10% on $1,100, which is going to be another $110, right? So $1,100 plus 110 is $1,210. Then you have that $1,000 that's now $1,100 from the year two that you put in. You put in a second $1,000. So now you have $1,210 plus $1,100. Now your investment of $2,000 is worth $2,310. So we talk about how that $1,000 year one, she turned into $1,100. Year two, she turned into $1,210. Year three, she gonna glow up again. She is worth $1,321, and she just keeps glowing up, honey. She just keeps looking better, feeling better, drinking her water, minding her business, and she just keeps getting better and better and better. And that is the beauty of compound interest. And if you leave her in there and you don't mess with her, don't mess with her. Because if you interrupt her and take her out, you're going to start all over again. That 2 years, she was worth $2,300, even though you only put in $2,000. Year 5, you only put in $5,000, but she's worth $6,150. And at year 10, you put in $10,000, but now she's worth $17,531. That's after 10 years. You literally only put in $10,000. If you say what happens at year 20, you put in $20,000. Now she's worth $63,000. At year 30, you put in $30,000. Now she's worth $181,000. And this is, again, just $1,000 a year. I know you're doing more than that, but just think 30 years. And I am pretty sure a lot of the people who are listening to this are not 60, right? You have 30 years left of investing. Even if you're 60, it might be a little tight, but you can make it. Like, you know what I mean? 30 years, you'll be 90. We've seen 90-year-olds. It is not that unfathomable. But a lot of, I'm sure the people who are listening to this are 30s and 40s or 50s. And so you have another 30 years, and your $30,000 could 6x in that time. And that is just being rather conservative investing in an index fund. Like, we're not even going to talk about other types types of investments that can have larger returns. But the point is, so think about that, where inflation erodes the value. After 10 years, your $10,000 is $8,500. And so at 20 years and 30 years, we see where the trend is going, as opposed to investing and compound interest growing the value of your dollars and growing it such that it is outpacing inflation. It's growing faster than inflation can erode the value. And this is why we tell you that savings alone is insufficient to grow, because you're never going to be able to save faster than inflation. It's just impossible. It's literally impossible. The money you're putting in there is day one. It's like driving a car off the lot. Day one is just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking in value. So that is why we want you to invest some more, and then invest again for good measure. So you're like, girl, I knew this. Why are you telling me this? Because this is a very foundational, fundamental way of seeing your money. And this is something, and I'm always come back to that mindset. This is the mindset that the wealthy have. They're never going to let their cash sit idle. They know their cash needs to be out there working for them, making little friends and bringing them home to live in their asset-rich investment. And so we want you to do the same thing. They're not going to just let their money just chill. I remember I was watching a show and the guy was like, yo, run me my money. You got my money sitting over there. I could be doing something with this money. Like, it was a show with Richard Gere who was like stealing money or whatever. I think it's called arbitrage. Anyway, the guy was just like, no. You've had my money too long now. I want it back. I'm not earning what I could be earning on it. And that's generally the mindset. Like, let me put my money to work. It is not supposed to be sitting here because I'm losing money, because inflation is eroding value. And anytime my money is not out there going to work for me, I'm losing money. And that's how I want everybody who's listening to this podcast to think about their money. Their money, they're soldiers on the battlefield. Like, they should be out there working for them and figuring out ways to multiply. All right, I think that's it. I beat this dead horse. That is all for today. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend. Please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This is always so much fun for me. Love you. Bye.